Welcome back to Geek Channel 8. This is Eric.
And this is Will.
And today on the show, we are going to be watching what has been called the Gone with the Wind of Frankenstein films from 1973, the two-part TV show jointly shown on NBC and the BBC, Frankenstein, the True Story.
We finally got our real snow here where I live. I mean, my normal things are outside. I love to be outside um, and digging in the dirt. But the dirt is frozen over. So,
Wait, how did you get to become like not a bookish indoor person and an like I live in a place where everybody's all outdoorsy and they go hiking and they do winter sports and they do summer like sports and they do like it's super granola and everyone here does all that crap. I don't do that crap. And I'm such the black sheep here. Like it's so weird, but like what the hell?
truthfully, you're right. Because growing up, I was the guy who was like, the perfect job would be working in the stacks of a library where I could be around books and never talk to anybody.
It's still a very underrated job. That is like still pretty like I did that and it ruled and I quit that job and I have always regretted it.
But honestly, circumstances forced me into jobs where I had to talk to people, and then later offered me opportunities in places where I had to be outside and make things with my hands. And it turns out I like all of that. And yeah, I mean, who knew? If I just did what I thought I wanted, I might have not enjoyed myself as much. But yeah, that's where I'm at now. I'm like, I wish the snow would go away. If it would be just 50 degrees outside, I'd be back outside 100%.
There uh, uh, okay. All right. Yeah, no, I like the indoors. I've been watching the new season of Stranger Things,
All right.
which is very strange. I'm only a couple episodes into it. I'm trying to like savor it because I know there's not going to be that many episodes.
Right on. Yeah.
They've been on hiatus for like 5 years. And so like these kids are now adults. So there's like a combination of like stuff that was shot earlier and de-aging and like really good makeup and
Oh, wow. So are they pulling it off though? Would you?
so far they have managed to pull it off for most of them. But it reminds me of we had a conversation last time about Attack on Titan. And
Oh, yeah.
I said that I gave up on the series early on, and I did. First of all, I haven't read the manga. I think I tried to read the manga. I had the same problem with it I had with a lot of manga. I did not like the shading in it,
Mhm.
mainly that there wasn't enough of it. And manga are smaller than American comics. They're usually, paperback size. That is too small for my old eyes. Like, if manga came in giant size, then I might like it better.
Giant size X-Men manga. Oh yeah.
But I told you I watched like several episodes, but I think I watched the full first season.
That's giving it a lot.
I gave up after that because it seemed repetitive, but also there was a long wait. So I went to look up what the long wait between the first and second season was, and it was 5 freaking years also. So
Uh,
that's one of the reasons why it lost me. Apparently it had long waits between most of its seasons, but that was the longest between the first and second season. So maybe I'll go back and give it a try at some point.
well, and also I would just point out that like at least when it's animated, you don't have a problem with the characters aging. You know, I think if you gave it a full season and you just wasn't really gelling for you, I'm like, that's enough, honestly. There's just so much to watch.
I mean, it was gelling for me. I just felt like in the beginning, in the first few episodes, and then I felt like they never progressed past that. It's
Yeah.
like for the rest of the first season, it's just like, oh, these things are attacking us and we don't know where they're coming from. And,
Every serialized form of fiction, there's a certain amount of vamping that shows up. We call them filler episodes, we call them whatever. It's like, for me, it's why X Files lost its charm. I'm like, you got an overriding plot, but you're just farting around with filler stuff, and I'm not even sure you have an overriding plot in the end. I'm like, I don't know. It's that kind of thing. Yeah.
I have that same problem with X-Files, but I didn't watch it for the overall plot. I knew that was going nowhere and I didn't care. I watched it for the filler episodes.
I mean, honestly, that's probably a better way to enjoy it. But that also when it came to Twin Peaks, I was like, no, you're not getting me. Mm-mm. I know where this is going. It's going nowhere.
Well, the thing about Twin Peaks, though, is that it came first. It did that before anyone. And so that's what made it kind of cool is that, and some of it was resolved. It just was resolved in a movie. It got canceled, so they had to resolve it in a movie.
You know what? Now that I think about it, I know what it was that what really struck me, where I did not even start watching it, and that was the one set on the island. What was that called?
Lost.
Lost. Yeah, I'm like, no, there's no. I'm not gonna get stuck by that one. So
So Lost, I watched an episode or two and I really liked it, but my significant other refused to watch it. This is back in the days before streaming, and so like you had if you missed it when it aired, you had to wait for it to get released on video, which took forever. And because it was continuing, I couldn't watch a later episode until I watched the ones that came before it. So I had to wait.
right, right.
And at that point, the same problem of like waiting for years. And then I just sort of gave up on it. Then I'm glad I did because everywhere online I hear people talk about how it started out so good and like just descended into like annoying meaninglessness.
So now the one where it struck the balance, I'm like, well, this is probably going somewhere that will be disappointing, but I really love the flavor. Well, in the meanwhile, for me, was Fringe. I watched a lot of that, and it didn't matter to me where it was going because I'm like, it had all the weird kookiness. It's right there in the name. It was all about, it was very, uh, you know, outer limits sort of fringe science and craziness. It was mad science from the get go, and I expected nothing from the overall plot. And actually, I've discovered something. Any show that where it's like, I'm like, well, maybe I'm just watching this to see the overall plot. I just need to find out where this goes, and I'm not enjoying it very much. Well, there's a wiki for that, and if there's not a wiki for it, then there's a Reddit for that.
Right.
And sometimes even with stuff where I'm like, I really love that. Like there's a movie called Primer. Really loved it. Not sure I understood everything. Don't worry. There are multiple explainers and like people going into depth, slicing it up into teeny tiny. Yeah. So there's just so many ways to enjoy media now. It's kind of like the way sports fans can be there in person, or they can watch it at home, or they can watch it in a bar, or they can tailgate and watch. Yeah, they're just maybe they don't watch it at all. They just bet on it. We kind of have the same thing now. We have many ways of engaging.
Let's jump into talking about the film for today, the TV show Frankenstein, the True Story from 1973. So, first, let me give you background to what was going on in the world in 1973. January 1st of 1973, the UK entered the European Economic Community, I think it is, the EEC, which later became the European Union. I may have that name wrong, but it was definitely the abbreviated EEC. February 27th, civil servants and rail workers in the UK went on strike. March 1st of 1973, The Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd was released.
Hmm.
April 4th, 1973, the World Trade Center is dedicated and it's the new world's tallest buildings. May 3rd, 1973, the Sears Tower in Chicago is completed, becoming the world's tallest building. June 24th, the Upstairs Lounge, a gay bar in New Orleans, was attacked, arson attack, and it killed 34 people. It remains unsolved to this day. July 12th, Lon Chaney Jr. died. August 9th, 1973, the first Tandy electronics store opened in
Oh,
Europe,
wow.
in Belgium. It was better known as Radio Shack in the USA. September 20th, 1973, Billie Jean King beats Bobby Riggs in the Battle of the Sexes tennis match. October 30th, 1973, the Bosphorus Bridge in Turkey is completed, connecting Europe and Asia across the Bosphorus for the second time in history. The first being a pontoon bridge created by Emperor Darius of Persia in 512 BC.
Oh, wow.
So, took a minute for them to make a permanent bridge there. November 30th and December 1st of 1973, Frankenstein, the true story, debuts in the US. So let's talk a little bit about this.
Yeah, let's talk about the stars.
Who do you want to talk about when it comes to the stars? James Mason's Dr. Polidori, which, by the way, Dr. Polidori is not a character in the book. It is named after the real life John Polidori, who was part of the writing competition in the Year Without a Summer, where Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein. Polidori wrote the first modern vampire story, The Vampire, which is largely seen as a big influence on Dracula.
Yeah.
He was played by James Mason.
Yes, with delightful.
Yeah. Victor Frankenstein was played by Leonard Whiting. Dr. Henry Clerval was played by David McCallum. Jane Seymour plays Agatha Lacey / Prima.
Mhm.
Nicola Paget as Elizabeth. Michael Sarrazin as the creature. Michael Wilding as Sir Richard Fanshawe. Clarissa K. Mason as Lady Fanshawe. Agnes Moorehead as Mrs. Blair.
Oh, she was great.
Margaret Leighton as Francois Duval. Ralph Richardson as Mr. Lacey. Sir John Gielgud, although he wasn't Sir yet, as the Chief Constable. Tom Baker of Doctor Who fame. This may have been his last role before he became the Fourth Doctor. He plays the Sea Captain. So that's the cast. A notable feature of this production is that instead of being ugly from the start, the creature is portrayed as physically beautiful, but then becomes increasingly hideous as the film progresses. The makeup of these creature effects was done by Roy Ashton, who did the creature effects for Curse of Frankenstein, The Revenge of Frankenstein, and The Evil of Frankenstein by Hammer Horror. For our opinions on those makeup effects, check out our episodes on those movies.
Yeah, actually, I would say uneven, but
The script writers were Christopher Isherwood and Don Bachardy, and they were unhappy with the film. So they released their own version of their script as a paperback novelization tie-in to the movie.
wow.
Their script contains a prologue in which Mary Shelley is telling her tale of horror to Percy Bysshe Shelley, and Lord Byron and John Polidori stand nearby. As she reaches each of their parts in the tale, they rush to join the main action and the story begins.
Wow.
We've had a number of Frankensteins now where this prologue that actually has the behind the scenes part at the beginning. I guess it just goes to show that that part of this story is so interesting to people that continually pops up.
Yeah, it's sort of like it's all about all this stuff is about birth, and the birth of the story itself is fascinating to people.
So that prologue was actually filmed, but it was cut from the movie because NBC execs thought it would be too slow moving and opening and people would switch channels. So it was
Okay,
cut. This novel also has a final scene after the film's ending, which we'll talk about when we get to it.
cool.
One notable fan of this was Anne Rice, who was inspired to write the Vampire Chronicles after watching this.
Totally see it. I totally see that.
Yeah.
Wow. I think I can see this as an awakening for a lot of people.
Yeah. So Anne Rice stuff is popular among the gay community, particularly in New Orleans. We're going to be talking about in a number of our upcoming Frankenstein films, including this one, whether or not there's any homoerotic elements to it.
Mary Shelley's classic novel comes to life in Frankenstein, the true story. Monday night at 9, 8 Central Time on NBC.
After his brother William dies in an accident, more like he just falls off of a rowboat, which, okay.
Yeah, they kind of did a speed run on that one. Like,
So he falls in a lake and dies. The newly trained Dr. Frankenstein, he renounces God and starts wanting to be able to revive his brother. So he starts studying in London where he meets Henry Clerval, who supposedly has discovered how to restore dead matter to life. Clerval plans to create a new race of perfect beings. This is something else we're going to talk about that was going on in a lot of these later adaptations. The idea of this master race, like, that seems pretty much like it would be verboten in the 40s Frankensteins, you know? But somehow it's making a comeback in the 70s here.
big time.
He wants to make this race of perfect beings from the remains of the dead and persuades Victor to help him. So they set to work on creating a perfect human. But Clerval dies of a heart attack before the experiment is completed, and Victor chooses to honor Clerval by giving the creation Clerval's brain. Now, this is particularly interesting to me because Clerval literally says something like, medicine, you should pursue it because it gives you the power over death. And like 2 minutes later, he dies of a seizure.
And he was just like, our creature is going to be perfect, except for it's just going to have this regular old brain that's no big, just a peasant's brain.
His name is Henry in this, and Frankenstein's named Victor. So in the past, we've had Frankenstein both be called Henry and be called Victor. So it's
Yeah.
interesting that we get both of them in this one.
And the thing is, he's physically infirm, which we've seen. We've seen a lot of. We have seen some of that in some of our recent things where it's like, oh, okay, here's the person who wants to be in a new body. He doesn't explicitly say that here, but like he's physically infirm. I mean, really, he exhibits what we would call today some very incel behavior around women, and it just seems. Though, I mean, honestly, Frankenstein at one point, the doctor himself, he's like, I need to learn to make life. I want to do this, and his beloved says, it's like, well, Victor, we'll be able to do that together as once we're married. He's like, oh, rutting beasts can do that. I mean, yeah, no,
It's
isn't it
funny how,
terrible?
like, when we had the authors of the Peggy Webling book on here, Bruce brought this point up. And I saw it a little bit in that movie. I didn't see it as much as they seem to, but I certainly see it in these later ones, like this one.
There always seems to be a pair of them, at least a pair, and then often three of them. These men who are engaged in these secret acts to create life with no women involved whatsoever.
Yeah, bros before hoes.
Oh my god. Oh,
Although there needs to be a gothic version of that. I don't know what that would be called.
gentlemen before strumpets? I don't know.
No, but it's got a rhyme.
Yeah,
It
you're
doesn't
right.
work if it doesn't rhyme. I mean, especially when we're talking about people like Percy Shelley and Lord Byron, it just has to rhyme, right? Victor brings it to life, and he introduces his creation to high class society. It's shocked to find that there's a flaw in the process making him, and his flesh is deteriorating. The creature sees himself in the mirror and is horrified, and tries to kill himself by jumping into the sea, and Victor assumes he's dead. Now, Polidori is introduced at some point here, and he's like one of Henry's colleagues, right? But he's also a hypnotist. He reminds me a little of Zoltan from The Evil of Frankenstein. You
Right?
know, I need to ask you, as always, what you thought of the revival scene in this, because unlike most of these that take place on a dark and stormy night, they're
Yeah.
taking energy from the sun. It's like a
Right?
bright sunny day, and they use sun power to resurrect the creature.
Well, they use sun power and electricity. Okay, so it was 1973. I don't know what the state of solar power was then, but not very advanced. But like, even what they used, I thought it was pretty cool apparatus. Okay, I'm just gonna say that. A lot of mirrors and concentrating lenses and stuff. And I'm like, I struggled to get to even come up with anything to make any sense of it. And I'm like, well, maybe they were using the heat from the sun to drive a Stirling, engine, which is, yeah, no, it was a bunch of hoo-ha nonsense but it looked nice. And
So you can't have a solar powered turbine.
it did. It had solar power. I'm like, yeah, that was, and it had there were a lot of liquids involved too. And the climax of the creation scene involved, like, fire, which
Yeah.
didn't seem to bother the monster too much. It's just one of those. Actually, I should say monster. That didn't really come up until later. Creature, Adam. It
Yeah,
was
the
all
perfect
about that.
man. He's not ugly.
No. Oh, and what did he call him? He called.
Adam.
He said
Oh,
Frankenstein's like beautiful.
beautiful. Yeah.
He was entranced by him, and he was quite cruel to him when he started getting ugly.
Is it our imagination, or is there homoerotic elements in Frankenstein, the true story, on TV in 1973?
Um, I it. He literally.
How did this end up on TV in 1973?
Okay, we have to keep in mind that people were always doing stuff like this. There were things like soap, or there were even episodes of Barney Miller where they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna slide this right in here." Right? I'm not sure whether the censors were in on it or they just went over their heads, but like there is stuff on all the time. If you watch Hollywood Squares, for example, I'm not sure what year that was, but it was from my childhood, along with this stuff. I was 3 in 73. There was, I'm like, I'm not sure, but I think that person is not like the rest of us. And it was all like and there were gay celebrities, but they never said they were gay, but they were. They were very flamboyant, and that's how we used to do things. We had Liberace, who, if you asked any of them, his most of his fans, they would have been shocked, I say, the idea that he was gay, if they could even conceive of what gay was. So,
Yeah.
for that matter, we had artists who were huge. You know, Now we say it's like, oh, wow, some of the people we look at, like, well, okay, Ziggy Stardust didn't show up until later in the decade, a little bit further down.
I don't think that's the case.
Oh, okay.
1972 is when.
Okay, I thought that was a little. You know what? Maybe the movie Spiders from Mars came out later. I'm not sure, but anyway, we wouldn't have talked about him being bi or anything like that. He would just be super cool, and whatever. But like, it was honestly, there was a lot of admiration of male beauty in that time period, just like there is now. We always have it, but like people, it was about this sort of like very much like admiring them in almost a peacock way, the dress and everything.
Let's talk about this because this has something that throws us all the way back to the 1910 Edison Frankenstein, which is
Oh,
Frankenstein, the creature,
yeah.
sees himself in the mirror at some point. So he starts out beautiful, but he starts getting ugly, and then he sees himself in the mirror.
Yes, yes, and he breaks that mirror when he sees how ugly he is. But it also is preceded. It's preceded by a change in the way his creator treats him. He was treating him like this beloved child or something. I'm not sure, pet. And then he starts decaying and getting a little ugly. And Frankenstein breaks the mirror himself, and the monster has to find a shard to see himself clearly, and it becomes evident that he's hideous.
So he kills himself by jumping off a cliff, and it looks like the White Cliffs of Dover.
Yeah,
So we are in England, which is an interesting thing because while Mary Shelley was British, in the actual novel, they were Swiss. Already, this isn't Frankenstein, the true story, as in more like the book. It is definitely less like the book than a lot of the ones we've already seen.
right.
Why it's called the true story, I don't know. Just maybe marketing. Okay, so we think he's dead. They, at least Victor thinks he's dead, but he washes up on a beach and becomes friends with a blind peasant, Lacey, I think is his name. And this actually does kind of happen in the book. There's always this blind man. So Lacey introduces him to his granddaughter Agatha and Agatha's husband Felix. They freak out and Felix attacks him. There's a struggle. He kills Felix and Agatha flees in terror into the road where she's struck by a carriage and dies.
And the carriage does not stop at all.
No. And I'm thinking it's quite possible the carriage doesn't even know that it's hit her because of the noise of the horses and all of that stuff.
Yeah, she's a small person.
So the creature carries Agatha's body back to the lab, to try to get Victor to revive her. But he's out. Polidori now has taken over the lab and he plans to create another creature. He hypnotizes the monster and gets it to reveal some secrets. And meanwhile, Victor has like abandoned this line of work. He's getting married. He is married.
Yeah.
And so basically, it's Polidori that blackmails him back into helping with this procedure.
I think this is cool because we know that he used, his friends, because Dr. Frankenstein and Henry were friends. But he used his friend's brain in this creature, which, is a whole nother level on the way he loved the creature and then he didn't love the creature. But his friend was not handsome and attractive like he was, but the creature was. What we find out is Dory hypnotizes the creature and speaks to Henry. He's in there. And he asks for help, and he's like, "I'm not helping you. You betrayed me before," because they had a falling out. And he closed, and he basically is like, "Go back to sleep." And he's, we see it's like this guy is very, I mean, not kind, evil, manipulative. Oh, there is heavy doses of Orientalism, that sort of fetishizing of the East. He has assistants who I think he's speaking Chinese to. They only speak in Chinese to him.
Yeah, I don't know what that was all about because his carriage is also decorated with like gold, like I think it's supposed to look oriental in a way. He clearly is not, but
Right.
maybe like he learned these secrets in the
The
East,
secret, yes, like Shandu, the magician, or for that matter, that's a whole part of it. Is like later on in the '80s, it was like, yeah, white ninja. There's a white guy. He learns all the secrets of ninja. It's just always a thing. Uh,
And it definitely fits with the Victorian like era,
oh
you
yeah,
know.
definitely. So I mean, it's like, I think we are pretty good about taking things as they were, and you know acknowledging the problems with these things, and then saying, okay, now, no, acknowledging that, what else is here that we can enjoy and discuss. So it was like that was very problematic, but like it was part of him being mysterious, and with this evil power of secrecy and blah 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 and controlling men's minds. It was just set dressing for that.
Polidori's like power hungry. So he's totally all about making a female creature because again, he wants to make a race of them or he wants to make, you know, at least many of them so that he has minions, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's he actually brings the creature to Frankenstein's house on his wedding day. Lets him shows him that he has these there, and he's like, "I will." Oh, you don't want to cooperate with me? Well, I'll just leave him here, and you can explain this guy.
Yeah.
Not really sure why it would be an issue, but yeah, it would. You know,
So I said they were married before, but I guess maybe getting married. They
yeah.
were. So there's the wedding day is always a thing in these Frankenstein movies. But I think it's worth mentioning we have pretty studiously tried to avoid all the bride iterations because that would be so many more movies.
Right.
However, this one I thought, even though the bride plays an important role in it, I thought we should include it because it is a sort of important cornerstone of Frankenstein film lore is this particular one. So we have to tackle the bride in this one. They put Agatha's head on a new body, bring it to life as a female creature Polidori names Prima. So I got to ask you again about the resurrection process here because it's a little different or more detailed. She's in like a water tank and there's like all kinds of colored liquids. It's very lava lamp like
Yes, it
and very
is.
60s like psychedelic. This is a little bit different. I don't know. I kind of dug this one.
I specifically like the whole tank she was in, like, was engulfed in flames. It was very symbolic. Lots of Promethean symbols here, gift of life, gift of fire, gift of knowledge, all the things. And yeah, that was pretty good. I mean, even more nonsensical. I don't know. I feel weird. How can I judge the realism of the technology used to bring the dead back to life? Well, as a geek, yes, I can. I will do so. But it was fun. I liked it, and I don't know for certain, but I feel like in a way this is a meta show. It's the true story of Frank. Everybody had seen a lot of Frankenstein before this. Like I did read some comments, and people were like, "Yeah, I was a kid and I'd never seen anything like this, even though I'd seen a lot of Frankenstein movies." Other people were like, "I didn't like it because it wasn't like other Frankenstein movies. I can appreciate more now." That kind of things. It is almost like deconstruction. I feel like at
Yeah.
this point, even though there's the set dressings of all the transformations and the technology, whatever. But this is really a story of what we've seen is over and over again. Frankenstein turns away from being a husband to his wife. He actually leaves her again on her wedding night to go participate in this creation. He left her before when she got a little inkling of what he was up to, and she was very upset and wanted him to stop. And he was like, "No, I gotta keep going." He keeps on turning away from this woman to participate in this act of creation with these men. And we get into it how one of the things as Pomodori says is like, don't act like you don't enjoy this. You are most yourself here as you are using the surgeon's knife. You're this. You like this. You want to be here. We're seeing him being seduced by this act of creation.
Eventually, he does go away on his honeymoon with Elizabeth. And while they're gone, Polidori convinces his family to take Prima in as a house guest.
Yes.
And when they come back, they realize she's there. Elizabeth doesn't know what the deal with her is, but knows she's crazy. Like she tries to kill the cat at one point.
Yeah.
And that's interesting to me because, like, one thing we see about these creatures is they don't know anything. So they keep repeating the things that they hear and learn.
Hmm.
And at one point when there's a hostile gesture made toward her, she like hisses and swipes like a cat.
Yes.
At this point, the original creature has become a bit of a liability for them. So Polidori tries to like hypnotize him, makes him rest on a slab, and he's gonna have his assistants push him into acid and destroy him. But Victor can't abide by that. At the last second, he tells him to wake up and rescues him. But they flee the lab and they trap him in there and set the place on fire anyway to kill him.
Yeah.
So
One of the assistants gets thrown in the acid bath. We see again he's back and forth with he, this Victor. He is not a constant person. He is not reliable. No, definitely not. Now Pomodori's like, I'm done with that monster. I got this beautiful girl, and I've wormed my way into your. He's definitely a worm tongue. He wormed his way into your family, and he's set up. He's like, cool. Though we burned the monster. We have this beautiful girl. You're going to introduce my beautiful girl to society, and that'll get us on our way.
yeah, he basically wants to eventually like take over like power by using her to, as a courtesan. There's this big ball where he has to like introduce them and stuff like that.
But at this point, Frankenstein's wife, she knows something's wrong with this chick, and she has snuck into her bedroom at night and pulled down the ribbon that covers the stitches. And Frankenstein was there to stop her from screaming. He knew she had left bed, so he stopped her from screaming. He's like, and he convinces her not to say anything. We'll be done with them soon. As soon as we get them out of our lives, everything will be okay. But she is not okay with this. She has never been okay with this, like what he's been screwing around with. But she's always loved him, and so she keeps on putting up with it. But at the ball, we see Prima.
Yeah, and she dancing first with people she's invited to dance with, and then eventually on her own as everybody cheers her on. And then everything's fine. But then the creature, now even more hideous for being burned, shows up at the ball. And he tries to, take Prima away. And she, of course, rejects him as that always happens in these things. And so he tears her head off. um,
Yeah, yeah.
Everybody freaks out. Like there's a mass
Oh yeah,
exit.
people try to stop the monster too. They're not. It's not like that they are a bunch of gentlemen type people, but they do try to stop him. Like one guy picks up an entire pillar and he just knocks it aside. He just throws everyone aside. And I really love they had a guy rush in from outside with a rifle and just shoot him at point blank, which does nothing. And they're like, "Oh crap!" Yeah, that crowd scene was actually really well done. People are running, but he grabs her, and it's like, Mary had a baby and the head popped off. I don't know if you guys ever played that with flowers when you're kids, but he pops her head off. It's okay. In fairness, it's very tame by today's standards, but I would have been crazy back then, especially on television.
Yes.
Uh,
In the aftermath of this, the next day we get John Gielgud, I think, as the police, like the typical like stiff upper lip British police inspector, and he doesn't know what to make of this because he's heard all about this. And Polidori like confessed that he made the creature and stuff like that. But then he shows up to question Victor, and Victor admits to it. So now he's got like, he doesn't even believe this story. Now two different people are both claiming responsibility.
Yeah, and they both say, "Yeah, I made that. He did that, but I did this. It's really all on me." I mean, and this is when the wife steps in, and she uses her, not really her female wiles, her political, influence. Her dad is help the guy get his job. And he's like, my husband he's very ill. You can ask anybody. He even on our wedding night, he had to leave and consult with his doctor. So she's not a passive creature. She's not, inert, but she steps in to divert the tension away and have the just hush it up.
Oh, the cops would never go away just because somebody was well connected.
She didn't, and then she turns to,
I feel like that's something that used to happen back in, Victorian times.
yeah, not anymore though.
No.
No, nothing, not now. That's not a thing. Glad we got past that.
So sort of to like avoid this scandal and stuff like that, they decide to start a new life in the new world, like the United States. Now, is this the first Frankenstein we've had where they like cross the Atlantic?
Huh. I'm I want
I
to say
know,
no, I don't think it is. I think somebody tried to or at least tried to leave for America. I'm not sure though. I
I
might be getting
know
that.
we saw this with Dracula, but I'm not
Yeah.
sure if we saw it with Frankenstein. I don't know. Anyway, but it doesn't actually get that far because Polidori is on the ship and he tries to convince Victor to resume the experiments. The
No,
cre-
he's just like, no, I got you. I got you by the short. You're not. I got you. I'm. She's like, how did you? He's like, if you could manipulate that guy, of course the master of course I could. And so, which I thought was cool. They just like hand wave because he's like, yeah, no, I got out of it.
and on top of that, the creature stows away on the ship. So now we got
Yes,
everybody. We got
yes.
Elizabeth, we got Victor, we've got Dr. Polidori, we've got the creature, and they're all on this. Creature's looking for Victor. Elizabeth sees the creature hiding in Polidori's cabin. And so she's like going to get rid of him by like, okay, I'm going to lock him in. So she tries to lock him in with the creature.
She does. She's successful at it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about this. I'm like, because her husband, Victor is like, well, what can we do? And she's like, I'm like, okay, we glossed over something. Pomodori is not, he's not entirely fit. He has, he's missing part of a limb, and then on the other side, he hides this. But honestly, I'm like, well, at this point, I would have thrown his guy. I would have found a chance to throw that guy overboard to protect my wife. And oh, she's pregnant, by the way. But he's not stepping up. So she does. She locks him in there, which is a throwback to another Frankenstein movie where Frankenstein's like, "Oh, this woman is inconvenient to me. I
Yeah.
lock her in there with my monster."
Yeah. Curse of Frankenstein. Yeah.
Yeah, so she does it, and it looks like she's going to be successful. But the cries from Pomodori is like, "Help me, because I'm locked in here." Wake up her husband, and he goes to help.
Yeah.
Pomodori is this guy is slick. He's like, hey, why don't we go upstairs? No, you want to go upstairs, don't you? Because the monster is in there with him. He hasn't attacked him yet. Because he has all these conflicted things, and he's a smooth talker. But he sees Victor. Victor helps lure him up. They're all on the deck now. The monster wants Victor, grabs her and throws her out of the way. And of course, that's when the attack happens. So everybody jumps on him, and he just beats them all down. And he actually ends up gets his hands on Pomodori. He just does it. He's laughing as he strings him up, not by the neck, but like under his arms, and hoists them. There's a storm going on. He hoists them into the rigging, right?
Yeah.
So this guy's swinging from the rigging, and the creature climbs up after him, and he's just laughing his ass off, right? So and the crew, having already been like thoroughly beat down, they're like, what do we do? We gotta, and this is when Frankenstein, see, this is an inconsistent man. You have a pregnant wife, but what do? You're like, and she says to him, you can't do anything. He's like, I have to try to do something. And he climbs the rigging to try to save Pomodori. He is not successful.
Yeah. There's a lightning strike
Yes.
which now we finally get lightning in this at the very end here. I
Oh,
figure
yeah.
they're like, we got to get lightning in this at some point. Yeah.
Yes. And he is instantly vaporized.
Yeah.
And Frankenstein, the Dr. Frankenstein, falls to the deck of the ship.
Yes.
Well, of course, you know, both of his beloveds come rushing to his side. And the creature, shoves her out of the way and grabs him up and takes him down below.
Right.
That's when they're like, oh crap, what do we do? And we get to have Tom Baker at the door because she's like, I need to go to my husband. She's like, you can't go in there. That's that
Well,
creep.
none of the crew wants to go in, so he's
Right.
like, fine, I'll take care of it myself. And he pulls out double flintlock pistols.
Yes.
and in one of my favorite Tom Baker moments, like,
Yes.
And tries to bust in and shoots, but it's not effective.
Yeah, no, he busts in double. He has his wonderful beard, all his big shaggy mane that we've seen. If you've seen him in Doctor Who, he's always has that. But he has this wonderful beard in this. He goes in and he unloads both pistols, point blank range, and the monster's just like, ugh, so annoying. Just yanks them away from him. And he's like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's just annoying to this point.
Yeah, so, and the creature, he's now got Serval's mind. That's like resurfaced, Clerval.
Yep.
And so he saw on a map, north goes to the North Pole, and he sees the compass, and he like guides the ship north. He actually lashes the wheel so it stays heading on a northward course.
Yes, and the thing is that the crew has said, like, okay, screw this. This thing is we can't kill this man, so we're abandoning ship. The captain's like, yeah, let's get out of here. And he's like, come on, lady, we can make it back to England. And she's like, no, I won't leave him. So she doesn't. She stays.
Yeah.
And yes, and they have a conversation. And she's like, you leave him alone, and you're just a creature of evil, and and he's like, your husband made me, and he's like, God has forgiven him for that, and
yeah,
he's like, you think God has any say here? You know what? Come here.
What he's doing is making strangling motions. He basically strangles her.
Yes.
To make a long story short, and here's the spoiler ending. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert, this is spoiler alert. Victor awakens, finds her dead on the deck. They're in the Arctic. He follows the creature off into the, frozen wastelands, into an ice cave, and they get into a fight there, and then there's an avalanche cave in, and that's the end.
Yes, but you know what? They get not into a fight. It's a reconciliation. It's him apologizing and saying, I wronged you. And, can you ever please forgive me? And not a lot of words from the monster, but like his cries, his emotional cries and beseechments. You've taken everything from me. You were right to be angry at me. How can I blame you? Because, and that's what causes the avalanche. And at that point, he's already like, if I could, I would kill myself and you to end our misery, but I can't do that because you're invincible. I'm sorry. But he manages to bear, his cries bury them both in this, and they're all happy about it, kind of.
Yeah, he forgives him, and yeah, that's the ending of the film. As I said, there was another scene written.
Oh yeah,
that they didn't show later on during the day. Like there's like this iceberg that floats away. Who knows how much later this is, and then it starts to melt, and like the creature's hand is exposed and like begins to move. They decided to cut it, I think, for a couple of reasons, but the main one was they thought it took away from the poignancy of the ending.
Yeah.
But the other reason is also they didn't want to have to make a sequel. Like they're like always intended this to be one standalone picture.
Clearly, I've been very enthusiastic in talking about it. I really thought I was impressed. I was impressed by, even though there was so much stuff in it. Like, you had all these elements. You have the bride, you have this hypnotist, you have the all these things. But I was impressed by how restrained they were in so many ways. There was some blood and guts and whatever, but like it really was mostly about these relationships. I would say this might be the first deconstruction of Frankenstein that I've seen. You know.
Let's not forget though, there was also like crawling arms.
Oh
Like
yeah,
it's
that's
kind of
true.
like a predecessor to Evil Dead, right? The thing would get out and they'd have to like trap the
That's
arm
true.
again, and stuff like that,
Uh, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, honestly, there's seeds of things in here where I'm like, okay, yeah, no, I like we mentioned at the top that Anne Rice drew a lot of inspiration from this, which is surprising on the one hand because you're like, well, isn't she the vampire lady? Well, yes, but like what we've discovered, throughout viewing all these Frankenstein and Frankenstein inspired and things that inspired Frankenstein is there's a lot of this underlying, this reproductive urge and the usurping of the creation, which honestly, we have some of that in vampires too. And she definitely focuses in those who are not familiar with her because at this point, a lot of people just know, frankly, her imitators. If people who a lot of people who would read her now be like, "Wow, this is just like so and so," something that came later. But anyway, she focuses on the family aspects of the vampire world in a lot of ways. So anyway, well, all back landing to say, I thought this was actually very good. I understand what if it's well thought of. I understand why. It gave me a different view without being explicitly homosexual. We constantly see Frankenstein turning away from this family life that is right there for him to have. He could have all this big, beautiful life, and he keeps turning towards this life of science with other men doing nefarious deeds to get to this miracle of creating life from where there was death, and he's keeps turning to that, and I think that's a pretty good parable. It's pretty well done. So I definitely give it a thumbs up.
I also give it a thumbs up, but not quite as enthusiastically as you did. It's 3 hours long.
That's true.
It's kind of dated. I liked it though. I liked it. And I do think it was a different Frankenstein. It was a deconstruction of things. We've said before, 1970s are the heyday for Frankenstein. So there's a lot, like we're only at 1973 right now. And there's like the 1970s was a big decade for Frankenstein. I feel like this kind of is what kicks it off. And people started viewing the Frankenstein legend in a whole different light. And I think a lot can be traced back to this TV movie, which was shown in both the US and the UK. So yeah, thumbs up, but probably never going to watch it again. It's like good one time,
No, totally.
And I was cool seeing a really young Dr. Quinn medicine woman. Yeah. Okay. Want to say if you like the show, please tell two other people about it. I think we're still doing that. I don't know if this is going to air in 2025 or 2026, but if it's 2026, you can forget about that. You've already failed. You've already failed the task if you haven't told two people about it. But you can, of course, do all the usual like, subscribe, give us a good rating, give us a good review, all of that stuff. And find us wherever you get your podcasts. We come out on Every Date with Nate, the 8th, 18th, and 28th of each month. And you can write to us if you want to talk to us and give your opinion on this. We're GC8 Podcast. That's letter G, letter C, number 8 podcast at gmail.com. We also have a Facebook group. Find it and join it. And if you want to continue the conversation there, we sometimes do. Until next time, this is Eric.
And this is Will.
Signing off.
I don't know. I feel weird